Most entrepreneurs are broke because they're busy, not productive. What if everything you believed about hustling hard was the exact reason your business hasn't grown past a certain ceiling? And the harder you push in the wrong direction, the further you actually get from the result you're chasing? Here's a reality that will gut punch most people in this room. Being busy is the world's most socially accepted form of laziness. It feels like progress. It looks like effort. But busyness without a ruthless revenue-focused strategy is just organized failure with a packed calendar. The entrepreneurs who consistently win aren't working 18-hour days. They've engineered systems so precise that their business generates value while they sleep. The ones who lose, they're answering emails at midnight, jumping between tasks, confusing motion for momentum. In this competition, every single person competing will be exposed, not by their pitch, not by their charisma, but by their numbers. Because numbers don't lie, numbers don't have feelings, and numbers don't care how passionate you are about your idea. The brutal truth of entrepreneurship is this: if you cannot clearly explain who you serve, what problem you solve, and how much money it makes, you don't have a business. You have an expensive hobby with a logo. Your offer is either a no-brainer or a no thank you. What if the reason your sales are suffering, your leads are cold, and your conversion rate looks like a participation trophy has nothing to do with your product, and everything to do with the way you've packaged and presented your offer to the market? The offer is everything. It is the single most leveraged point in your entire business. A weak offer with brilliant marketing still fails, but an irresistible offer, one so well constructed that saying no feels genuinely stupid, will sell itself even with mediocre marketing behind it. Most entrepreneurs build products first and figure out the offer later. That is catastrophically backwards. The market doesn't owe you attention. It doesn't care about your passion or your backstory or how many hours you poured into building your thing. It only asks one question: what's in it for me, and why should I believe you? In this competition, the entrepreneurs who walk in with vague value propositions are going to be shredded, not out of cruelty, out of respect for what business actually demands. 8 people, $100,000. And the only currency that matters on that stage isn't confidence or charisma. It's clarity. Offer clarity is business clarity, and business clarity is the only path to real money. If you can't measure it, you can't scale it. What if you've been running your business completely blind, making decisions based on gut feeling, assumptions, and hope, while your competitors are using cold, hard data to reverse engineer your customers straight out of your market? This is where most small business owners quietly die. Not dramatically, not with a big failure everyone sees, but slowly, invisibly, death by ignorance of their own metrics. Do you know your customer acquisition cost? Do you know your lifetime customer value? Do you know exactly which marketing channel is generating your most profitable customers versus which one is just burning your cash? If you hesitated on any of those, that hesitation is costing you money right now, today, while you're sitting here, in any serious investment context. And this competition is exactly that. Someone with real money will always ask about numbers before they ask about vision. Because vision without metrics is just a daydream wearing a business plan costume. The 8 entrepreneurs stepping into this competition are about to learn one of the most expensive lessons in business. You cannot fake data in a room full of people who live by it. Numbers reveal everything: your discipline, your strategy, your seriousness, your actual potential to scale. Pressure doesn't build character, it reveals it. What if the version of you that shows up when everything is comfortable, when the money is okay and the pressure is low, is not the version that will ever build anything worth remembering, and the only way to find out who you actually are as an entrepreneur is to be thrown into a fire and forced to perform? Most people claim they work well under pressure. It's one of the most common lies humans tell themselves in hiring managers. The truth is, most people collapse under real pressure, not because they're weak, but because they've never been systematically exposed to it in a high-stakes environment. This competition is not a networking event. It is not a startup expo. It is a pressure cooker, deliberately designed to strip away every layer of preparation, rehearsal, and safety net until what's left is the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are when the stakes are real and the clock is running. The entrepreneurs who will thrive here are not the ones with the prettiest decks or the most polished pitch. They are the ones who, when challenged, when their numbers are questioned, when their model is attacked, when their assumptions are dismantled publicly, stay calm, stay sharp, and stay honest. That composure, that is worth more than any business plan ever written. Speed of execution separates the wealthy from the wishing. What if the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be financially isn't about knowledge because you already know enough to take the next step, but about the speed at which you're willing to make decisions, take risks, and execute without waiting for perfect conditions that will never arrive? Here is an uncomfortable truth that the business world rarely says out loud: the market rewards speed disproportionately. A good idea executed fast will almost always outperform a great idea executed slowly. Not because perfection doesn't matter, but because in business, momentum compounds just like interest. Every week you delay your launch, your competitor is acquiring your future customer. Every month you spend refining instead of releasing, you are paying the invisible tuition of opportunity cost. The entrepreneurs in this competition who are going to be remembered, who are going to make an impression powerful enough to win real capital, are not the ones who have the most polished presentation. They are the ones who demonstrate velocity of thinking, who can take feedback, pivot instantly, rebuild their argument in real time, and show that they don't just have a plan, they have the instinct to execute that plan at a speed the market respects. Slow thinkers build slow businesses. Fast decision makers build empires. Capital goes to confidence backed by competence. What if the reason you've never attracted serious investment, serious partnerships, or serious opportunities isn't because the money doesn't exist? It exists in extraordinary abundance, but because the energy you bring into the room signals uncertainty. And uncertainty is the single most expensive thing you can project in a business context. Investors, real investors, people who have built and scaled companies with their own blood and capital, are not just evaluating your business model when you walk into a room. They are evaluating you, your posture, your precision, the speed at which you answer hard questions. Whether you flinch when challenged or whether you lean in, confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is the quiet, unshakable belief in your numbers, your model, and your ability to execute. And it communicates without a single word, whether you are someone worth betting on. But here's the catch that destroys most people. Confidence without competence is fraud. And experienced investors smell it within 60 seconds. The entrepreneurs who will win this competition, who will walk away with $100,000 and the kind of mentorship that changes the entire trajectory of a business, are the ones who walk in with both. Unshakable belief and undeniable proof. That combination, in any room, in any economy, it is absolutely unstoppable. What if I told you that in the next 60 minutes, 8 people are going to walk into this room carrying everything they've built, everything they've sacrificed? Every late night and early morning and awkward family dinner where they tried to explain why they left the safe job to chase something nobody else could quite see yet, and only one of them is walking out with $100,000? Not a consolation prize, not a pat on the back, not a great pitch, keep going. $100,000. Real capital, real stakes, real consequences. Let me be brutally honest with you before we begin, because honesty, uncomfortable and direct as it is the only thing that actually helps people grow. Most of the entrepreneurs in this room today are not losing because the market is wrong. They are not losing because the economy is against them. They are not losing because they lack passion or potential or a genuinely great idea. They are losing because they are busy instead of productive. And there is a difference so catastrophic between those two things that it has quietly destroyed more businesses than any recession in history. Busyness is the world's most socially acceptable form of self-deception. You can be moving all day, answering messages, attending meetings, updating your website, posting content, and be completely stationary in terms of revenue, growth, and real business progress. The entrepreneurs who win, the ones who build companies that scale, that generate real wealth, that actually change their lives and the lives of the people around them, are not the busiest ones. They are the most precise ones. They know their numbers. They understand their constraints. They have eliminated everything that doesn't directly contribute to the one metric that keeps the business alive, and that metric is revenue. Everything else is a supporting actor. Now, let's talk about offers, because here's where I'm going to lose some of you, and that's fine. Because the ones who stay and listen are going to understand something that most business courses charge thousands of dollars to explain poorly. Your offer is not your product. Your offer is not your service. Your offer is the package of value you are presenting to the market, positioned in such a way that saying yes feels obvious and saying no feels like a mistake. Most people competing for money today have products. They don't have offers. They have things they made, services they provide, but they haven't done the ruthless market-centric work of answering the only question any potential customer or investor actually cares about. Why would I be an idiot to say no to this? If you can answer that question in one sentence, sharp, specific, and loaded with proof, you have an offer. If you need 5 minutes in a PowerPoint to explain your value, you have confusion. And confused people don't buy. Confused investors don't write checks. And in this competition, confusion is eliminated in the first 60 seconds. Here's what's going to happen today. 8 people will present. And within moments of each presentation, the truth of every business will surface, not through the pitch, but through the questions. Because questions are where businesses live or die. What are your margins? What is your churn rate? How much does it cost you to acquire a customer, and how long before they pay back that acquisition cost? What is your unfair advantage that a well-funded competitor cannot replicate in 6 months? These aren't aggressive questions. They are fundamental questions. And if the answer to any of them is a hesitation, a vague gesture, or a pivot to a different talking point, that tells us everything. Not about the business, about the operator. Because data is not just numbers. Data is discipline. Data is the evidence of whether or not you take your own business seriously enough to know it intimately. Now I want to address something that almost nobody talks about in the entrepreneurship space because it makes people uncomfortable, and the business world has an unfortunate habit of trading in comfort instead of results. Pressure is not your enemy. Pressure is your audition. The version of you that exists when everything is comfortable, when the bills are covered, when the team is cooperative, when the market is responding, that version of you is not the version that investors bet on. That version is easy to be. The version that matters is the one who shows up when their assumptions are challenged in a public setting, when their revenue projections get picked apart, when someone who has seen 1,000 businesses looks at yours and asks the question you were hoping they wouldn't ask. That moment, that specific uncomfortable high-stakes moment is when your true capacity as an entrepreneur is revealed. And today, all 8 competitors are going to experience that moment. The ones who flinch, deflect, or get defensive, they're going to walk away with a lesson. The ones who stay composed, stay honest, and stay hungry, they're walking toward a check. Let me tell you something about speed, because it is one of the most underrated advantages in business, and almost nobody takes it seriously until they've lost something significant to someone who moved faster. The market does not wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't pause while you perfect your pitch deck. It doesn't hold your customers in a waiting room while you figure out your pricing strategy. Every single day you delay execution is a day your future customer found someone else. And not necessarily someone better, just someone faster. In this competition, the entrepreneurs who demonstrate velocity of thought, who can receive feedback, integrate it instantly, and come back sharper within the same conversation, those people will stand out with an electric clarity that no polished presentation can manufacture. Speed of decision is a skill. And like every skill, it has been built through the reps, through the failures, through the relaunches, through the moments of deciding to move before every condition was perfect. And finally, the thing that ties everything together, the thing that either opens doors or permanently closes them in a room like this. Confidence backed by competence. Not one, not the other. Both. Confidence alone is a con. Competence without confidence is invisible. But when you walk into a room and you know your business, you know your numbers, you know your customer, you know your model inside out, and you communicate that knowledge with complete, unshakable certainty, doors open, capital moves, rooms lean forward. That is what $100,000 looks like when it's about to find its home. 8 entrepreneurs, 1 check, 1 room, and the only thing standing between any of them and life-changing capital is the willingness to be ruthlessly honest about where they are, brutally clear about where they're going, and courageous enough to defend every single number they've ever written down. Let the competition begin. 8 people walked in today carrying dreams, data, and the kind of desperation that only an entrepreneur truly understands, the quiet, relentless pressure of building something from nothing while the world watches and waits for you to either prove them right or prove them wrong. What happened in this room today wasn't just a competition for capital. It was a mirror. A high-definition, no-filter mirror that reflected, with perfect accuracy, the exact gap between where each person currently operates and where they need to be to build something that lasts. One person will walk away with $100,000, but every person in this room, if they're honest and brave enough to use what they've seen today, walks away with something more valuable than money. They walk away with clarity. And in business, in real, lasting, wealth-generating business, clarity is the rarest and most expensive commodity on the planet. The game doesn't end today. For the winner, it accelerates. For the others, it restarts. With better information, sharper instincts, and the kind of hard-earned wisdom that no course, no book, and no mentor can manufacture artificially. Use it, build with it. Don't waste the lesson. What if the only difference between the entrepreneur struggling to hit $10,000 a month and the one banking $10,000 a day isn't talent, isn't timing, isn't a secret strategy locked behind a $5,000 course, but something so simple, so devastatingly overlooked, that when you finally see it, you're going to be furious at how long it was hiding in plain sight. 8 entrepreneurs, $100,000, zero sympathy for bad numbers. In the next few minutes, you're going to watch real business owners, people with real ideas, real sacrifices, and real money on the line, step into a room where every assumption gets challenged, every weak offer gets dismantled, and every excuse gets eliminated. And somewhere in that process, whether you're a founder, a freelancer, a side hustler, or someone who's been sitting on an idea for the last 3 years waiting for the right moment, you're going to see yourself. Because the lessons in this room don't belong to the 8 people competing. They belong to you. Stay until the end, because the moment that changes everything for you, it won't be in the beginning.